a lot of my clients, they would never hire me because they don't have the money. I mean, they don't have several $100,000 to get them out of a, murder case.
Yeah.
The last murder case I had a couple of years ago, and it was a USCCA case, and this poor guy didn't have, I mean, he would have been stuck with a public defender, and he would have been in prison.
Yeah.
Hands down. He was in his 60s. The only way to say it was this piece of guy his daughter was dating. He took him in during COVID, then wouldn't leave. Back and forth. Guy had been to prison. Of course, through my investigation, it turned out he was an Aryan Brotherhood, had Aryan Brotherhood tats, was just to this day, no one knows how bad his criminal record was.
Gotcha.
Even the DAs. You got stuff you got in Tennessee, you got here, you're in and out of prison. And my guy, he's being nice to his daughter, tried to kick him out of the house. No. They had a Christmas thing planned for him, a couple of years ago. He bolted, stole the daughter's truck, went off, whatever. And had kind of threatened, my client before that, you do anything to me, old man, I've killed people in prison, don't fuck with me type deal.
Yeah.
And he came back 3 or 4 days later after Christmas. Client had enough of it, said, "You're out, get out of my house, you're gone now." And of course, how did that go over with a guy that the toxicology, he had an amount of meth in his system that was 10 times more that would have killed you and I.
Seriously?
Yes, 10 times. Their own expert. I mean, not expert.
How's that even possible?
Yeah, because you're a meth head. He'd gone on a bender.
Bench,
Okay. And he was hyped up on meth. He was like, "You're not gonna kick me out, you f***ing old man, because you're gonna have to shoot me," And he starts coming at my guy, and he's elderly. I mean, literally, not elderly, in his 60s, but injuries, can't really walk, and comes at my guy sitting in his own living room in his lazy boy. Pulls out his trusty 45, 1911, pops him right here.
Wow.
Daughter was on the couch, saw it. Daughter freaks out, calls 911. "Dad just shot my boyfriend, just shot him, and you gonna get here?" And my client's, "Give me the phone, that's not what happened, it was self-defense." Daughter tells the police and testifies at trial, shot him for no reason, stood up and shot him, and then stood over him and said, "How do you like that, mother?"
Was the daughter on meth too?
In and out. Daughter had her own. Daughter was not a good witness for the state of Texas. But said he stood over and shot him in cold blood. Cops show up, arrest my client for murder. He's there in his tailgate of his truck, got his gun, his pistol, and all. Arrest him for murder. Get him bonded out. And of course, the police report reads like cold-blooded murder.
Yeah.
The wife calls USCCA. They call me. I talk to him in jail, and I'm like, "This is self-defense.
Yeah.
This is not." I said, "I know what the probable cause is, but this is." And they're like, "Okay," and that's it. That's all it took. Okay. Yeah. Posted $100,000 for his bond, cut me a check, whatever I needed it, and at the end of the day, the jury was out 50 minutes.
Damn.
And they were like, "Why did this go to trial?
Yeah.
This is insane." And the bailiff in that court, really nice guy, big old guy, looked like he could play linebacker right now. Afterwards, like, "What do you think?" He goes, "Oh, I had 3 minutes not guilty." He goes, "Are you kidding me? That's insane." I mean, everyone.
Yeah.
But they didn't do any investigation. I mean, there's blood splatter on the deal that even the jury, before I called our expert, which again USCCA paid for, to prove where the drops were. The drops, like if you splatter water, they hit here and went that way.
Yeah.
That's a guy coming at you
yeah.
and over. And then the trajectory of the bullet through his body lined up perfectly with someone coming at you. They didn't do any of that.
Yeah. And that's I don't mean to cut you off, but that's a thing that people don't understand. Yeah. A lot of people in the legal system are lazy.
Right.
So they're not going to do the investigative. We watch too many movies, right? So we think, okay, crime's going to happen. The cop's going to come in there. There's going to be an investigator that comes in there that goes in there and makes sure we're going to see where the blood splattered and all this. You have to hire a damn.
If this
expert.
jury was, well, I picked it, so it was a great jury, but it was a hardcore Collin County.
Gotcha.
Self-defense to a jury. And I knew if I went in, you got to be smarter than the prosecutors. Yeah. If I went in and started asking about guns and who owns a gun and who believes in self-defense and who has a right to gun, do you carry a gun in your car, I would lose all my jurors. So I took a calculated risk that I'm in Collin County. Now you can see a little old lady or a little, school teacher, here or there. You kind of like maybe cut out a few yourself.
Yeah.
For the most part, I didn't even ask about guns. 9 of my 12 jurors were USCCA members. We're licensed. Hey, they were, because one the foreman, even I knew, he basically like, how did he afford you? And I'm like, well, US. He goes, I figured, I'm a member. And it's like, I'm a member. Yeah, my husband's a member. I do. And it's like, beautiful. So 9 of them talked to us afterwards, and they were all gun people, all licensed to conceal, all deal. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of why I didn't bring that up, because I figured if I kept and the state didn't ask about it either. So when I'm up there doing it, I'm like, if I identify y'all are going to get struck.
Yep.
So I'm going to lay behind the log, because I know who y'all are, and I did a bunch of other stuff. But several of the jurors were like, "Oh, we saw the pictures before your guy," and I could see where the blood was, and it's not even. The daughter is saying he was over here on the other side, and you got up and shot him over here. Well, why is there blood right next to the table? And the sheriff's deputy, the crime scene people should be fired, and they should be prosecuted. This jury was so pissed. There was nothing done.
Jeez.
They came in and took 20 pictures with a cell phone. And it's like, that was the sum total. It's like, show up. Well, guy over here said he shot him. Well, we got a dead body. The daughter was an eyewitness, said he, shot him and stood up and said, how do you like that? Well, we got that was it.
Was this in Collin County? Okay.
Yeah, eastern side of Collin County. So it's Collin County Sheriff's Department investigation, because they're out in the country.
Gotcha.
But that's
the thing, though, too. Because we were sitting here ranting and raving and talking about how great Collin County is. But even in Collin County,
it was horrific.
The lackadaisical ass work.
Horrific.
Yeah.
He was so bad, the prosecutors didn't call him as a witness. I had him under subpoena, and I called him as a witness. Their lead investigator, the person that filed the case, their lead guy, they didn't call as a witness. Yeah, and you're right. So that's the whole point of that is, if you've got a couple 100,000 laying around, and this was the clearest case, self-defense, the guy sitting in his own living room, in his lazy boy, and a 10 times felon that's got 10 times the amount. Literally, I think he had 8 or 9 felony convictions that we knew of. Been to the pen.
How the fuck was he still out?
Yeah, well, you get out. I forgot he was a sex offender too. And I managed to make sure the jury knew that. And he's in his own home, and he's coming at him with the ME telling him that that amount of meth is lethal. I was like, how much? Like, it's 10 times lethal. Yeah. And he shot him, and that's as clear as self-defense as you can be. And he got arrested, and probably with bonds and everything. I mean, it's a $250,000 defense, and it's we're not guilty, and he's back home in his house. But if you don't have that, he would have died in prison, because I think the last offer was 10 years in prison, because my guy was like 62, 63. And, he would have done, we have to do half, but he'd probably do more like 80 or 90% with a deadly weapon. Yeah. So he would have died in prison. He couldn't survive prison.
Yeah, not at all. No.
And with a court-appointed lawyer or
a court-appointed would have literally just came to him and, look, you want to take this deal because they got you dead to rights. And it's like, because they're not going to do anything either.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's invaluable. And that's on the extreme end, but it's, all the smaller cases. I mean, I've had... unless you've got the money, to do that. Yeah. But and it's just, from my standpoint, it's like, not only, and I've just met other USCCA lawyers from across the country at different events, and they don't hire chicken lawyers. Yeah. They don't have. It's not like, we're here. We're going to give you this lawyer, and
Peter, who does videography on the side on the weekend.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Well, here, Peter will represent you. Yeah. And that's it.
Law and Order.
It's like, and there's lawyers out there like that. They do wills, they do trusts, they do car wrecks, they'll do your divorce, and here, here's a murder case for $20,000.
Yeah.
Go take. No, they hire guys like me, and it's no questions asked on the money. They're not pinching pennies on who you get hired. Yeah. I mean, it's so bad. I've got a membership for my dad. My son's just finishing up his second year of college, and he wants to get his license to carry this summer. I'm like, and you're gonna you have a membership. It's just, you know,
it just makes sense.
It makes sense.
It makes sense, and it literally evens the playing field legally. Right. It really does.
Well, it tilts it in your favor because these prosecutors are not. But yeah, at least you have a fighting chance.
Yeah,
because they have all the lawyers, all the investigators, all the money in the world, and you need to be able to fight that.
Yeah. So okay, so you mentioned something you were talking about in the situation. 60-year-old man, the guy's in his house to charge him. So I want to kind of talk about disparity of force because I think it's a concept that a lot of people don't understand and how dynamic and fluid the concept of disparity of force works, right? So in this case, it's pretty clear cut. Old guy, big guy, drugged out of his mind in the house charging him. Yep. Disparity of force makes perfect sense, right?
Which is great to keep in mind because that's on about of an extreme scale as you can be. Yeah. And he had to have a jury trial. That's what you got to realize.
Yeah.
It was $250,000, and for an hour, his life was in 12 people's hands in Collin County. So even in Collin County, where you think it's 2A self-defense, we're not in Dallas County. So I didn't mean to interrupt you, but it's it's like oh no, that's the disparity of force. He was absolutely. He had to go to trial.
It's crazy.
He had to go to trial. So now we're talking this fluid.
Yeah.
Well, down here. Yeah.
Exactly. Like that's the thing that people don't really think about is like in your mind you may think, it makes perfect sense. Yeah. Doesn't matter. You're kind of at the dice roll of what police officer shows up.
I was going to say that's the very beginning. It's how did they get there? Who shows up? What's the scene? And it's a domino effect. Yeah. And if you're not the first to call. And it's kind of that old deal. Well, that 911 call sometimes is your best evidence, And if you're the one to call 911, this person's trying to run me off the road. He's trying to kill me. He's stopping. He's doing all this. I think he's got a gun. He's pointing at me. What? Or if you just wait around and show your gun, and then the other person calls the police. Well, I'm sorry, you got a gun on you. He said you showed it, and
Insurance has been purchased by the USCCA and is one of the benefits of membership in the USCCA. Coverage and benefits are subject to the terms, conditions, and exclusions of the insurance policy issued to the USCCA. Every USCCA member is an additional insured on that policy. Information provided herein is for informational purposes and is not intended to be a representation of coverage that may exist in any particular situation. USCCA membership is not available to residents of New Jersey, New York, or Washington State. Contact Delta Defense's customer engagement team at 1-800-674-9779 with any questions. Delta Defense LLC provides sales, marketing, operations, and administrative support services to the USCCA and is a licensed insurance agency in all 50 states and the District of Columbia, with its principal office in West Bend, Wisconsin. Delta Defense LLC does business as Delta Defense Insurance Services in California. California license number 0M34093.